As of 2018, there are 102 million miles worth of roads in the world that have been catalogued. While the majority of those roads may be freshly paved and smoothed over, plenty veer from the beaten path, requiring a sturdy vehicle and driver to navigate. Still, some streets are so challenging that they have tight turns, or they pose a risk of avalanches and earthquakes, making them difficult for travelers. If you fall victim to them, the consequences can be fatal. So, let's begin today's video because here are the top 15 most extreme roads in the world. Number 15, Atlantic Ocean Road. Alright, kicking off our list of extreme roads is the Atlantic Ocean Road in Norway. What makes the story of this perilous road so attractive is that while it may be one of the most dangerous in the world, it has also been named one of the best scenic drives. So, if you're looking to do some sightseeing on the Atlantic Ocean Road, then you had better buckle up. This Norwegian road is home to the Storsasundet Bridge, which is known as the Bridge to Nowhere, with an exciting approach that looks like a ramp leading all the way up to the sky. When you reach the peak, you'd better not look down. Once you manage to get over your fear of heights, this road will take drivers teetering all along the edge of the sea, and that's where the real fun begins. While the waves of the Norwegian Sea may be a gorgeous sight to behold, you can lose a lot more than your lunch here, as the brutality of the waves, as they crash over the road during stormy weather conditions, threaten to bring you back into the sea with them as they recede into the depth. Number 14. Cotahuasi Canyon Road. The Cotahuasi Canyon Road begins on the Pan-American Highway near Arequipa. Much of this canyon-carved road is completely unpaved with rocks and pebbles of various sizes, impeding the course, not to mention those that can fall down from the rock faces at any given moment. Things only worsen during the rainy season. The road is so intense, in fact, that it takes about 10 to 12 hours to make it from end to end, meaning only the most stalwart of travelers can make it to the other side. The only cars capable of making it across are those with four-wheel drive. This is one of the roads that is too infamous even for the likes of tourists and adventurers. Cotahuasi Canyon is the third deepest canyon in the world. Just to put it into perspective, it's twice as deep as the American Grand Canyon. A long way down Cotahuasi Canyon Road, full of some of the most challenging and harrowing hairpin curves in the world. Dangerous drop-offs. Don't think that you're going to roll your window down on a hot day to catch a breeze, because this extreme road tops out at 15,000 feet above sea level, where the air is nice and thin, and catching a breath here is nearly as difficult as making the drive unscathed. Number 13. Taroko Gorge Road. Located in Taiwan, the Taroko Gorge Road stretches for just under 12 miles. While it may be a rough ride, it also offers some of the most beautiful scenery in the world. The road is carved right through the mountains and winds through them. Despite the perils of braving the road, it has become a popular attraction for the bravest of tourists. So don't be surprised to see a whole slew of tour buses, cars, scooters, cyclists, and even pedestrians all vying and fighting for their space on the same narrow stone road. It's kind of scary to think about, but people do it daily despite the road's narrow bends and blind spots. Not only are there little blind corners, but the Taroko Gorge Road is subject to no shortage of random rockfall, floods, landslides, and even earthquakes. Hence, making it across this 12-mile stretch in one piece is a true miracle. Still, all these natural occurrences make it incredibly difficult to keep the Taroko Gorge Road in good condition, with heavy rainfall and typhoons ravaging the area and rendering nearly passable sections of the road. Number 12. Karakoram Highway. Taking travelers on an 810-mile stretch between China and Pakistan, the Karakoram Highway has been considered the world's eighth wonder, and while it's not hard to see why, as the road offers some gorgeous views, it's the perfect example of how some of the most beautiful things in nature are also the most deadly. The Karakoram Highway reaches over 15,000 feet above sea level at its highest point, where the air is nice and thin, and your breath can quite literally be taken away. If that's not enough for you, there are plenty of landslides, falling rocks, floods, full-blown avalanches, and plenty of steep cliffs to sink from. It's a pretty harrowing journey despite being such a famous road. In fact, much of the Karakoram Highway even follows the Old Silk Road, one of the most important trade routes in human history. But the road as we know it today was first built in 1959. Roughly 1,000 workers were killed during the construction because of dynamite blasts and subsequent landslides. Number 11. Fairy Meadows Road. Don't let the name of this road fool you, because Fairy Meadows Road is anything but sweet in Pakistan. This fantastic and dangerous mountain track is under 10 miles long, but the perils of the journey will make it the longest 10 miles of your life. Fairy Meadows Road is mostly uneven gravel roads at a treacherous altitude that reaches up to about 8,000 feet, and plenty of narrow turns that, with too much speed and not enough care, can spell the end of your trip. Yes, it's a gorgeous destination, but paying a little too much attention to the scenery could mean you'll notice a complete lack of guardrails a little too late. There's nothing to prevent a vehicle from falling off the cliff. Number 10 to 99 Bend Road to Heaven. We've all heard of the Stairway to Heaven, but just wait until you hear about the 99 Bend Road to Heaven in China. The 99 Bend Road to Heaven is a horrifying road that whips and winds its way through Tiananmen Mountain National Park. As its name would suggest, this extreme road features 99 death-defying hairpin turns constructed hundreds of feet in the air. The construction of the road took 8 years to complete, with the structure finally ending in 2006. By the time you make it to the top, you'll undoubtedly feel like you've ascended to the realm of divinity and celestial beings, but the icing on the cake is Heaven's Gate, which is the natural rock arch that was believed to be the link between the gods and the mortal world. Number 9. Guylian Tunnel. During the day, the only way to reach the Chinese village of Guylian was to take the narrow and treacherous path carved into the side of the Hang Mountain. While that may have been a scenic route, the trek was as long as it was arduous, and one false step meant sudden doom. A small group of people put their heads together, and in 1972, they started to dig a tunnel because why go around the mountains when you could just go straight through them? The group was small, made up of just 13 humble people, and they wanted this tunnel dug during more modern time. The people of Guylian didn't have access to things like excavators, bulldozers, or something seemingly as trivial as dynamite, so the only thing they could do was dig by hand. So the Guylian Tunnel may not be the biggest in the world, but considering how it was built, you've got to tip your hat to the people who created it with their bare hands. In the end, not only did this tunnel on the mountain change the lives of the villagers, giving them better access in and out, but the tunnel has also become a big tourist attraction over the last few decades. However, the tunnel lacks barriers and lamps, so drivers enter at their own risk, especially at night. It's become such a difficult road that the locals lovingly refer to it as the road that does not tolerate mistakes. Pretty menacing. Number 8. The Pan American Highway. On its own, the Pan American Highway doesn't offer the typical perils of extreme roads like hairpin turns, steep cliff sides with long drops, or even unpaved roads. So what makes it so dangerous? Well, it's people. The majority of the Pan American Highway is an average roadway. However, there's one stretch of road that exists in a heavily contested area, and the odds of encountering local rebel forces increase the further you go. No shortage of travelers have been intercepted along the Pan American Highway by insurgents, kidnapped, and held for ransom, sometimes for years on end. In contrast, others simply become prisoners for the rest of their days. It's the type of highway where, if you absolutely must drive down it, you would better put the pedal to the metal and don't stop until you get to where you need to go. Number 7. Dalton Highway. Drivers preparing to hit the road and make their way to the Dalton Highway in Alaska are advised to bring along as much as possible, because there isn't a single hospital, hotel, restaurant, or gas station for a 400-mile stretch. It doesn't get any easier on the steep grades either. It's not uncommon for a car to slip and slide up and down the road. It's a tough spot to be in, and driving over the speed limit is hardly advised in the winter. The Dalton Highway gets so bad and slippery that even the most demanding and seasoned ice road truckers will downright refuse to cross it. The avalanches certainly don't make the Dalton Highway any more attractive. Number 6. Amur-Yakutsk Highway. Siberia has built up a reputation throughout its history for being one of the harshest locations on Earth, and the folks who have endured there are no doubt as tough as nails. Living there can be rough, and even getting there is a challenge in its own right, as if it's a precursor for what awaits. Nicknamed the Road of Bones, the Amur-Yakutsk Highway will take you to one of the coldest regions of the world. The highway is a combination of two roads, the R504 Kolyma Highway and the A360 Lena Highway. And the unfortunate truth of the Amur-Yakutsk Highway is that dozens of lives are lost here each year as their vehicles fall through the untrustworthy ice. Visibility on the road reaches an all-time low the only time it's even open, and making it to the Ice River Road means making it through the treacherous snow. This proves to be even more difficult after periods of heavy rain when things get terrible on the highway. Traffic jams of 4x4 vehicles can last for miles, with everyone hoping their cars aren't swallowed whole by the mud. Number 5. Zoji La Pass. The Zoji La Pass in India is the longest 5.5-mile stretch of any traveler's life. The cliffside road reaches a maximum elevation of a staggering 11,500 feet, and there are no guardrails to help keep you from falling off the side. The incredibly narrow road passes through the highest mountain range in the world, the Himalayas, and its unpaved landslides are persistent in the area from end to end. A lack of traffic signs prevents travelers from knowing what lies ahead and which sites are more prone to the harshness of nature. The road of the Zoji La Pass zigs and zags over to connect the towns of Srinagar and Leh in the western Himalayan region. The only solace here is that the road is less than 6 miles long and was first built in 1947 for military purposes. It's a critical link between Ladakh and Kashmir, and during those winter months, the isolated region is completely cut off from the rest of the world. Number 4. Karnali Highway. Moving over to another area in the risky rocky Himalayas of West Nepal, we have the harrowing Karnali Highway. This one is so rough that about 50 people die here every year, making the drive along a 155-mile highway somewhat of a death wish, even when it's not monsoon season. The road is one of the most dangerous in the world thanks to the highly dusty surface that makes for poor visibility through the narrow stretches. The vast drops off the very steep cliffs make it not really for the faint of heart. Best to avoid it at all costs. The Karnali Highway is so bad that the police have even banned driving here at night due to the number of fatal accidents and the fact that 85% of the road is considered unsafe. Number 3. North Yungas Road. Alright, if you ever find yourself driving in Bolivia and see signs for the North Yungas Road, make sure you turn around at all costs. It's also known as the Road of Death. Still, North Yungas Road is just under 50 miles long and sits high in the air at an elevation of 15,200 feet, meaning the atmosphere is thin enough to take your breath away. Leading from La Paz, this is a one-lane road full of vertical drops as much as 3,000 feet into the Amazon rainforest below. Until 1994, about 300 travelers died on the Road of Death every year. However, certain parts of the road have been bypassed to make for 2 lanes to help the flow of traffic, but cyclists still come from all over the world to Chala. Number 2. Killar to Pangi Road. Heading back to India for the penultimate entry on our list, we have the ominously named Killar to Pangi Road. At 70 miles long, this road reaches a maximum elevation of 8,200 feet and offers 0 guardrails to help travelers from falling over the edge. This road is only open during the summer months and is utterly unpaved, meaning you'll be driving extra slowly over potholes and giant rocks that have fallen over the years and will likely never be removed. Still, one 6-mile stretch, in particular, boasts a rocky overhang ready to come crashing down at any moment. The local villagers built this road hundreds of years ago, and it has been repaired almost 0 times since then. Number 1. Skipper's Canyon Road. Skipper's Canyon Road is carved right into the mountains of New Zealand, despite being open to driver. This road is anything but paved. It was hand-carved by miners over 100 years ago and remains as thin, narrow, and horrifying as it was all those years ago. Skipper's Canyon Road is just over 16 miles long, running from the paved Coronet Peak Road to Skipper's Campground, and the track traverses the face of the canyon high over the raging Shotover River. Today, the rocky road is most frequently used by tour buses with incredibly skilled and careful drivers at the helm and adventure companies just looking to give their guests a thrill as they look down to what could be their doom if the vehicle's weight shifts just an ounce over to the wrong side, because there are, of course, no guardrails here to save. And to make matters worse, the road becomes too narrow in specific areas, creating choke points that will make it physically impossible for 2 vehicles to pass each other. So when they happen, what are you gonna do? Well, one of you is gonna have to hit the Skipper's Canyon Road in reverse until things widen up enough. Despite the attraction, people lose their lives annually, with 185 dying in 2021.